We want to be good at giving good consequences, especially with training. Because the more positive consequences we can give, the more they're going to do those things correctly. So feedback, the best and easiest form of consequence.
Well, thank you. How thoughtful. Would you like a chocolate?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Oh, sorry, Sheldon, I almost sat in your spot.
Did you? I didn't notice. Have a chocolate.
Thank you.
You're here a lot now.
Oh, am I talking too much? I'm sorry. Zip.
Thank you. Chocolate?
Yes, please. Oh, hey, Kim. Yeah. You know what? Hold on. Let me take this in the hall. You'll never guess who they got to replace me with.
Okay. I know what you're doing.
Really?
Yes. You're using chocolates as positive reinforcement for what you consider correct behavior.
Very good. Chocolate?
Sheldon, you can't train my girlfriend like a lab rat.
Actually, it turns out I can.
Well, you shouldn't.
There's just no pleasing you, is there, Leonard? You weren't happy with my previous approach to dealing with her, so I decided to employ operant conditioning techniques, building on the works of Thorndike and B.F. Skinner. Yet by this time next week, I believe I can have her jumping out of a pool, balancing a beach ball on her nose. Tweaking her personality, sanding off the rough edges, if you will.
No, you're not sanding Penny.
Are you saying that I am forbidden from applying a harmless, scientifically valid protocol that will make our lives better?
Yes, you're forbidden.
Bad, Leonard.
Alright. Okay, so you guys know what conditioning is. Not that kind of conditioning. Learning conditioning. So, without getting too deep into it, basically human psychology of how humans learn. So,
Conditioning with punishment. Maybe we can come up with a punishment for spraying off poppers.
So humans learn really easily, and it's the exact same way dogs learn. So consequences are really important in that process. He was giving her chocolate, but feedback works the exact same way as that video showed chocolate. It was kind of exaggerating, but basically, if you give people feedback every single time they do something correct or incorrect, they're going to either stop doing it or keep doing it. It's as simple as that. So feedback is so important. How do we give feedback? What's the best way to give feedback?
In my opinion, everyone can catch more flies with honey than vinegar. I think positive feedback is far more effective than negative. And if you have to do negative, you can say stuff like, that was really good, but I think we could do it better. You're saying it's not as good as it needs to be, but you don't need to say, what a bunch of crap, you were horrible. You say, that was good, we can do better, and then you go tell them, rather than to belittle or, you know, make someone feel bad on purpose.
Yep, so positive feedback is something, we're really bad at Chick-fil-A. The reason why is because we do great things all the time. Like 98% of the time, we're doing great things. So to constantly be saying, awesome job, that's great, way to go, we'd be saying it all day long. And I think that's why we're so bad about doing it, because we just all know that we all do great things. And so it's like, do I really have to point it out? We all know we're doing great, right? That's not a good enough excuse. We still have to be good about giving positive feedback. So a quick way to give feedback is the what, so what, now what framework, I guess. So the what is what's the behavior that they're doing. The so what is what's the implication of the behavior. So the so what is the part we miss almost 100% of the time, because it's almost like it's assumed. So if someone's talking inappropriately on frontline, we all know that's bad. Do we ever tell them why it's bad? Why is it a bad thing to talk inappropriately on frontline? Everyone knows why it's a bad thing, but do we say explicitly why it's a bad thing? No, we always assume that the so what is implied. And that's where we make the mistake, because it's not always implied. They don't just know what the so what is. Okay, so that's the part we miss a lot of times. And then now what? How would you like the behavior to change or stay the same? So the first one, the positive one. Sorry. I loved that you greeted the guests. So greeting the guests would be the what. That really helps our CEM scores and shows them our second mile service. That's the so what. Now what is keep it up. So it's really simple. It takes 2 seconds. It's all right there. Like I said, the so what is the part we miss a lot of times. Oh, there's my inappropriate conversation one. Overheard the conversation you were having on frontline. It wasn't appropriate. It might make our guests feel uncomfortable. Do we ever say that? No. I do. But so let's make sure we keep conversations appropriate in the future. Okay? So that so what is the most important part, yet it's the part we leave out all the time. Rachel, give Ashley some feedback. Oh.
Frontline or?
I don't care. Make something up. It doesn't matter. It's not here.
Like,
Just
frontline or drive-thru?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Anything.
Actually, I saw you talking to Manny on Frontline earlier, and I don't know if it was an appropriate conversation for Frontline just because our guests are in the store. So next time, let's keep those conversations to ourselves away from the guests to make their experience the best that it can.
That's good. It can usually be a lot shorter than that, but you have to think on the spot. So, any other examples of things that sometimes trainees do incorrectly? Yes.
This was when I was training a new person. I think I was on window and she was on drinks, and she was new, so she was doing her drinks and she was taking orders, and I can tell she was getting really mad and frustrated because I was like, don't forget to wipe off your drinks. And after the rush went by, she was just like, I'm so horrible, I'm mad, I want to quit. And I was like, for one, breathe with me, I'm gonna breathe with you. Wow. I was like, and she was like, okay. And I was like, for one, I kind of did this, I was like, you did great. Because a lot of people, they just don't want to do headset and do their own drinks. And I was just like, this next time, remember to wipe off your drinks, but you're doing a good job. So I told her what to do different, and I gave her a compliment, and then I encouraged her.
That's awesome. You know what I didn't hear in that whole thing? Why she needs to wipe off the drinks.
They were dirty. I mean, okay, so people.
So see, you assume that they know why they need to wipe off the drinks, and you assume that they know being dirty already is bad, right? You're assuming they know what's bad and what's good. Pretend they're like fresh, like first day, don't know anything, all the time. Right? So what is what we miss all the time. So if we miss that part, the feedback's not effective. It doesn't matter. She's gonna keep making the drinks dirty, because there's no reason, there's no understanding of why they need to be clean. And it sounds dumb. We all know drinks need to be clean and hand them out to our guests. It sounds dumb when we say it out loud, but it's necessary in order to get them to do it the correct way.
So what's like the why?
Yeah.
Or like explaining like why they need to slow down at the register is like a big one. So, and like, when I first started, like, didn't know why they kept telling me to slow down. And then once I backed frontline, I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. So then now, so now, whenever I train, I make sure to say, okay, and I take them over to the screen, and I'm like, okay, so the reason why we have you slow down, we don't want you to go slow, we want you to do all of the steps. That way, you can keep them at the register, and then you explain, like, if it takes a minute to get to the table, but it takes 2 minutes at the register, they're gonna think it's faster to register. So by showing them the screen and the reason why you want them to do all of the steps.
Yep, so the why is the most important part, and you all have been on frontline with the line out the door, and you're like, I gotta get through these guests, like, we've gotta push this line through, but that's not the correct thing to do, right? But anyone who's never back frontline is gonna think that's the correct thing to do. Anyone who's never back frontline, that's just the way it looks it just looks like that's the correct way to do it, right? So why do we always assume that they know why we're telling them to slow down? Okay, so just don't forget the so what, very important. One more example, Julia.
Suzanne, I'll talk to Suzanne. Okay, Suzanne, I noticed that you never put the drinks in line when you're on drive-through, and that just makes it a lot harder for the person on the window, so you're slowing down. But you're doing a super good job, and you're doing really great for your first day here at Chick-fil-A. Did I ever get all this stuff? Oh yeah, so just make sure you put your drinks in line when you're doing your.
She did say why.
Slow it down.
Okay. Yeah, that was perfect. Who has positive feedback? We always talk about what they're doing wrong, because it's really easy. We're like, oh, that's not the right way to do it. Gloria.
Amanda, I noticed that you always check your sauces before you bring out the bag out the window, and that's really good, because sauces are a priority in the M score, so if you just continue to do that, they will please thank you.
Nice.
Love it. Love it. Adam. Give Jackson some positive feedback.
Alright, so, yeah, I noticed that you really did well on the headset by the pre-Mac orders, and that's important because we need to make sure the order accuracy is all good. So keep up the good effort.
Love it.
It's true.
Okie dokie, so everyone understands feedback, why it's important for training. Okay, it's important to give feedback after training, but if they get lots and lots and lots of feedback during training, they're gonna come out of training and be doing these things correctly, right? So it's important all the time, but especially during training. Okay. Okay. Reminder, praise in public, critique in private, right? So we're not gonna come up and they're doing a bad job in front of everyone. Reinforcement is key to repetition or deletion of behavior. Proven time and time again. So reinforcement is the feedback, positive or negative. And if we want them to either keep doing that thing or stop doing that thing, feedback, feedback. Cool? Yeah.
Does everybody in this room feel, like, are you comfortable giving feedback back? Good or bad? Yes, everybody? Okay, if you guys aren't, I would suggest getting with somebody so we can walk you guys through it, because as trainers, you have to be comfortable doing both. So if you're uncomfortable, you're not gonna do it, and then we're liable to issues that continue after training. So if you guys do not feel comfortable, get with a manager at the store and be like, hey, can you walk me through how to give positive, and then how to try and fix an action feedback, okay? Got it?
Cool, now we're gonna get into the training process, hopefully fly through this. Everyone seen this?
What is this? I've never seen this before in my life. Hey, Apple, let's take.
You've never seen this?
No.
Lily has full dress.
Face, Mona's face.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, this is good.
Oh, yeah.
This is really good. Okay, so, this is our team member journey. So it's not even this, before we even hire someone, this is what we go through, okay? So they come in, they apply, they have a first interview. Then they have a second interview, if we like them. At the first interview, then they have a second interview. If we like them at the second interview, then we hire them. After we hire them, they get put on the schedule for training. And orientation. So orientation is always a following. So they go to orientation and then they begin their training. First day training is always guest specialist and dining room training, right? That's pretty simple. Catherine does that. And that's right.
Julie.
Yeah, so they won't be doing that after this, but
So, yeah, with that being said, it will be one of you guys will be doing that at Draper. Because neither one of them could make it to this meeting, so they will not be trained. So anybody that didn't come to this will not be trained. So,
yeah. After that, we have day 2 of training, day 1 of register training. Okay, and that gets real confusing because we talk about day 1 and day 2, and then it's like, what's day 1, day 2, day? So the second day in the whole training process is the first day of register training. Cool. But it's on the iPad, not on the register, right? The second day on register is actually on register. The third day on register is also on register. So 3 total days on register. Demonstration, imitation, repetition. Then we go to headset, same thing, demonstration, imitation, repetition. 3 days on headset. Then they get the cashier, demonstration, imitation, repetition, all in 1 day. Okay, everyone understand that training process? It's super easy. They have a training one-on-one with a manager, but at the end of each day, they have a training one-on-one with their trainer. After the training one-on-one, they have a 90-day review, and another one-on-one, and then monthly one-on-ones from there, which hopefully everyone gets monthly one-on-ones, not just trainees. Any questions on that? That's super simplified. But those are the days in order, please. If there are any questions, training binder at both stores has every single day with what you're supposed to be training on. And Southtown hasn't seen this yet. I don't know. Kylie made these pretty training sheets. So it's all the same stuff that was in the old training one, you know, the packet that Southtown used. It's all that same stuff, it's just kind of, it's prettier, separated, more bullet pointed, easier to read and understand. So there's the training plan in here that tells you exactly what you need to be training on for guest specialist and dining room. And then it tells you what skills they need to have learned in that day of training, the objective of that day of training, and any activities that need to be done in that day of training. Cool? So this should be used every single time we're training by every single person in this room who will be training, so that we're not missing anything. Because again, consistency is key with training. So if Jessica's using this binder, but Natalie's not, then whoever Jessica trains is getting a different experience than Natalie. Whoever Natalie trains, okay? We do not want that. We want consistency across the board, no matter who's training. We're all training the same things. They're all learning the same things on the same day every single time, and we're never missing anything, okay? So the expectation is that this binder is getting used every single time we train. Expectation set, I know you guys all have the skills for it, far as resources go, I've heard it's an issue that there's only one binder, and sometimes we train 2 people at once. We will get you multiple sheets, so that if there's 2 people training at once, you guys both have the binder. Make sense? Cool?
So how would you like, when are the steps for like telling people like, hey, where's like Polynesian sauce, or like, hey, where do we stop this over there? Because like I hear it time and time again, like people don't know where like stuff is in the back, and I don't know, it's like for stocking or everything, so.
Yeah, it's all in here. It'll
Like,
tell
you know
you.
what day would be, or?
Yeah, it's day 2, right?
Yeah, day 2, register 1. And what it does is you actually have to do a walkthrough of the entire front and a quick one of the back to show this is where you're going to find the sauces. This is where we stock the sauces. This is how we stock the sauces. You're also going to take them over to drive-through and show them this is the sauces for the drive-through. This is how you stock them. This is how we have them on the window. This is what we do. So it goes through all that.
Like, yeah, like basically, they should, when they're actually on the street.
Yeah. So it's all in here. If there's anything missing, please let me, Sarah, or Kylie know, so that we can update it, get it in there, because I'm sure we didn't think of absolutely every little thing.
I just suggest that if anyone has not, and with the new changes as well, if every one of us needs to go through this binder and read it, so that the first time we go to training, we're not like, oh, I mean, you don't wanna know, you don't wanna look like you don't know what you're doing, because that's just gonna make your trainer question you and be like, well, you don't really know how to do that. So be familiar with the binder before you sit down to actually train somebody, so that means coming in a few minutes early one day, or if it's really slow and, you know, where you have downtime, just ask your manager, hey, can I go review that training binder really quick? So take the initiative, don't make us come to you to be prepared for that.
Exactly. How do I know when they're ready, when they've got it down, like they're good to be alone? This is kind of a Chick-fil-A thing. Trainer says and trainer does. So this kind of follows demonstration, imitation, repetition, which is what the whole training plan follows. But this is just an extra checkpoint, I guess, to know that they actually do understand what you're teaching them. So trainer says, trainer does, so that's your demonstration. So you're demonstrating what you're doing, but saying it as you're demonstrating it, okay? Not just doing it, explaining what you're doing. Again, the why is very important. And then after that, your imitation, trainee says, trainer does. So they're gonna tell you what you're doing while you do it. So they should be able to explain what you're doing and why you're doing it. If they don't understand that, then they're not gonna be able to do it themselves. After that, they should be able to tell you what they are doing and why they're doing it. Right? So it's just, if they get to the point where they can explain to you what they're doing and do it at the same time, then they've got it down. But if they can't explain to you what they're doing, they're just doing things because you told them to do it, they probably don't understand it, and as soon as you walk away, they're not gonna be able to do it. Does that make sense? Can they explain it in one sentence? A lot of times, no, they just kind of like, yeah, because they said so, or because that's the way we do it. Okay. Again, the reason why behind it is so important for getting people to actually do it. We all know the whys behind why we do things. Most of the time it's guest experience, like that's our number one why we do things the way we do. They don't know exactly what the why is. We need to make sure they understand that before we move them to the next one. Or the next day of training, or whatever it may be. Before we move on to whatever the next thing is, make sure they understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, and they can explain it in one sentence. And can they do it without assistance? So again, can they actually do it? If they can explain it, they can actually do it, I'm sure. Training scheduling. Okay, so ideally, and I say ideally because sometimes it will be it'll vary. Ideally, we would like a 3x3x3 training schedule. So there's 9 days. 3 3-hour shifts per week. So from 3 to 6 or from 8 to 11, 3 times a week for 3 weeks. ideally, anyone we hire would be done training after 3 weeks. Ideally, their training shifts would only be 3 hours. Ideally, they would train 3 times a week. What's the reason behind that? So let's start with, why would we do only 3 hours? Yeah, so every single day of training is a lot to take in. I mean, there's just so much with Chick-fil-A that you have to learn that it's a lot. So doing more than 3 hours, they're already not gonna take in every single thing you tell them on that day of training. So to do any more than that is like pointless, a waste of time, because it's just information overload. Also, it scares them with how much sales and volume and everything else we do at Chick-fil-A. They're like, I'm never gonna catch on to all this, right? So 3 hours, so we don't burn them out, so that they don't get overwhelmed. 3 times a week. Yeah, repetition. So, because you all have had it happen where you train to close, and then you go 3 months without closing, and you come back to closing, and it's like, how do I do this? I remember this, and I remember this, but you know you're missing things in between those 2 things, right? So, 3 times a week, enforcing that repetition part, where they're hopefully not losing the hang of it between those shifts. 3 weeks, that's just so that we can get them on our schedule as quick as possible. Honestly, that's us thing. Hopefully they're done in 3 weeks so that they're a team member ready to go by themselves after 3 weeks.
Request with that though, if you guys have to extend their training, the people that are doing the schedule, you need to communicate that to us. Because I probably shouldn't assume, but I would assume that they're going to make it through that amount of time. And if you guys aren't communicating to us that needs to get changed, then I'm going to put them on the schedule all by themselves. And unless you guys are communicating that in our chats and all the other systems, we're not going to know to add them for extra days. So be sure to communicate that.
The only time that will really vary is based on scheduling. So obviously the schedule varies week to week, and season to season. Christmas is a whole lot busier than right now. Well, right now it's busy too, but not as busy as Christmas will be. So it's a lot easier to schedule training during the slow times than the busy times. Requests, some people go on vacation, sometimes trainers are out sick or on their vacation, so there's lots of things that'll vary, but ideally that would be the way we would want to schedule training. Okay, steps for a training shift. You guys are all going to want to know this one. Check your hot schedules. That's the very first step, because I hear all the time, I didn't know I was training. It gets sent to you in hot schedules every single week. If it's not getting sent to you, check with a manager. And then also, if you need more communication, you can always just text, hey, am I training this week? But hopefully you guys can all take the initiative to check hot schedules to see if you're training. Come the end of this month, the beginning of next month, you guys will all be training a whole lot, hopefully, because we need to hire a whole lot before Christmas. So there will be lots and lots and lots of training coming up soon. So we're taking a big hiring initiative now, which means training will be following. So just make sure you're checking your hot schedule. Arrive early, at least 5 minutes early, like Kristen said, to check your training binder and what your objective for the day is. So your hot schedule will tell you training with so-and-so, day 1 register or whatever it says. Go in, look at the binder, and just review. I don't care how many times you've read this binder. Go in 5 minutes early, review the day 1 training. That way it's fresh in your mind, and like Kristen said, we don't look like we don't know what we're doing. Okay? Then if you're there early, hopefully you're there before the trainee, because what's really awkward is when they get there and they don't have a trainer there. So awkward. So that way they have someone to greet them and make them feel welcome and like we expected them. Because we did expect them, we scheduled them, but then what happens a lot of the times is they come in and they're like, oh, I'm here from training, and then the manager will be like, who are you training with? And they're like, I don't know. you're like, okay, we'll find it, and take 5 minutes, and then their trainer shows up and is like, oh, okay, here's Braxton, and here's so-and-so. It's so awkward. Just come early, know who you're training, know their name, know what you need to know, that way you can greet them when they come in and make them feel welcome and like we expect them. Then the very first thing you're gonna do once you greeted them, introduce them to the rest of the team, okay? So that everyone else can know who they are too.
You're switching groups.
Also introduce them to the manager. The reason why is because they're gonna want to know who the managers are, and unless you introduce them, they're just gonna assume, oh, we don't talk to the manager. It's really awkward. Cool. After that, you're gonna pretty much do a rundown of what the day looks like because you've looked over your training binder. You know what your day's gonna look like. Hey, today we're gonna be on the iPad going over product descriptions, practicing the little register, practicing talking to guests, learning about Core 4 and what Chick-fil-A is all about, giving them just a quick rundown, and then even letting them know you're gonna have a 10-minute break, I'm gonna have a 30-minute break. So for 20 minutes, you're gonna be with Sam instead of me. Or whatever that looks like, right? Because sometimes that happens, right? You go on your 30 and they go on their 10 and then they come back and it's like, who are they gonna be with? Well, I'm on break. Figure that out before they get there and let them know in advance. Hey, you'll be with Kaden for this 20 minutes, or if the manager tells you you're going on your break afterwards, then hey, you'll be with me the whole time. And we'll go on our 10s together. Then you can finally begin the actual training. So see, there's a lot of steps before you actually start training, so make sure you're not skipping those steps. Again, that's the expectation. Constantly give feedback. Don't forget positive feedback. Use the what, so what, now what model, obviously. Complete the activities for the set day of training. So it does say the activities to complete on each day in the binder. Make sure you get those done. And then 10 minutes before you and your trainee are off, or your trainee, sometimes you guys work longer, but make sure you ask the manager to pull out your position, sit down with them, again, more feedback, how did the night go, what they did really well at, see if they have any concerns or anything they need to work on, make sure they're comfortable moving on to the next day, on their next day of training, and then just giving them, okay, so you work on Wednesday with Diana, she'll be here waiting for you when you come in. Right, okay? Then you sign off the training binder. We all know how to sign off the training binder. We all know 3 signatures? Nope. Okay, so, Gracie, can you explain to Crystal what the training binder looks like, what the expectation with that is?
I don't know if I honestly can. So it has your trainee's name, and then each day has like a column, and there's 3 places you sign. Yes. So you sign one, and then they sign one, and the manager signs the other.
Isn't that the scheduler?
No, the manager.
No, yeah.
Because I thought it was the scheduler that schedules them that signs it so that they know that they scheduled them. Right?
I think that's the reason why we do it. The manager itself isn't scheduled, does not have to do that. That's the reason, that way they know that they're out.
That would explain why there's 4 slots though, rather than 3. I get always asked that. Nobody knows.
Oh, there's 4 slots?
There's 4 slots. There's technically 4 slots. From what, at least then, if ours is just
okay,
weird.
I'm really glad we're going over this. So, there is 3 slots. 3 signatures. Technically, it should be the scheduler. However, what happens when it's scheduled for but not done?
Oh, then the scheduler should not sign it and leave it blank, and then no one will sign it.
But it was scheduled for.
Oh, shoot dog. Then just.
Then they're behind.
So if the scheduler initials says what the trainer and the training does not, then we know what we need.
Correct. So that is why it's the scheduler, not the manager on duty. Because the manager on duty can sign that it got done or whatever, and they won't know that they need to go back and reschedule. Does that make sense? Okay, so this goes back to the communication that Kylie was talking about with scheduling. So, because it happens more often than not that someone either needs an extra day on register or someone called in sick on their register day one, or needs someone to take their shift because they have a track meet or something, I don't know. Yeah.
But that's also why we should be signing it every time they train, because if we don't, then the scheduler is gonna think they didn't train, but they did. They just didn't sign it.
Exactly, and they're gonna get a repeat day of
And
training.
then they're gonna be like,
So,
what?
do you understand that? So when the scheduler, so Kylie at Draper, when she is scheduled for it, she's gonna sign. Okay, after Aubrey, let's say trains whoever it is,
I trained that.
she'll sign, and then the other kid will sign. Okay, saying that it's completed, training is done.
The manager on duty shouldn't like
No.
check this off
No.
to make sure.
So,
So like even if they train like complete garbage, the manager's like, I think they need
So
a day of training.
that's why we come back to this. So, so if they're filling out the book and they're saying, hey, they're good, then we can go back to them and be like, dude, they're not good, you gotta train them again, so kind of thing. So, we need to put more pressure on these guys versus on us, cause we're already there running shifts and doing all that stuff, so it needs to be.
Communication is key.
Yes.
Got it.
So if you don't feel like they are ready to move on to the next day, you sign it up or not.
So that's when I would send out the text, cause guaranteed they're already probably scheduled to train on another thing the next day or another day during that week.
So, yeah, what we do is we send out texts, we can tag or whatever, at Kristen and say, hey, this person really needs another day. And then Kristen will know, okay.
But the answer is no, you do not sign it.
But yeah, don't say it.
You do not sign it until they're complete with that day. So if they need an extra day, and then at the end of the extra day, they're done with that, they're good on that section of training, then you can sign it.
Okay, but with that, if they do need an extra day, don't just assume that their next training day, that will work out. So for example, if they need an extra day guest specializing because they couldn't get themselves to talk to somebody, or they couldn't figure out how to refill their drink, or whatever it may be, with this scheduling, we schedule like for example, we may not have a guest specialist trainer for them the next night. We've accounted somebody for a register, like, that's kind of a bad example because iPad day we don't count the people, but if you're on register, we're gonna count you guys as a register person. So if they need like an extra register day and we have them scheduled for headset, we're gonna be short a register. This isn't making sense when I'm saying it, but like you don't just assume that it's gonna work out on their next training day, so we may have to make some adjustments. They may not be able to come in on their next day, they may have to come in an additional day, we may have to find a trainer that can bring them off, like.
I was gonna say if we have on calls though, that kind of cancels that out, does it not?
I think it just depends. It depends on who you have scheduled that night. If you don't have anybody that can train, then we're not gonna train.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes in, text it out. Hey guys, just train this person. I noticed they're scheduled this night to train because I know we can switch up the schedule. And I think that goes back to us as managers that will make sure that it's adjusted. But as long as there's that communication, but like she's saying, it just, the schedule's already made. So it's hard to be like, okay, yeah, Catherine's not working on Friday night, so who am I gonna get to train guest specializing that's gonna do it easily? So that's where she's getting at.
Some of these positions, you and your trainee will together count as a person. Some of these positions, we don't count either one of you, you're just completely extra. So we have to have enough people to be able to run a shift. We have to have enough trainers and still have enough strong employees to be running that shift. So never just assume, just always text out in the group meeting. So we can try to figure it out. Maybe if a trainer can say, yeah, I'm off, but I can train for 4 hours. And about that day, we can continue on with their trainings. We can get them done within 3 weeks, but
And there's a lot of things that can be pushed to the next week too. So if they're training on guest specialists and they need another day on guest specialists, okay, we're gonna move them to register for the next, what they're scheduled is register that week. We're gonna continue doing those register and we're gonna add an extra day next week of guest specialists so that they get a refresher the next week. Okay, it doesn't, if we're adding to the training plan, it's not necessarily gonna go in order, does that make sense? So it's gonna vary schedule to schedule. The biggest thing is that you guys are taking initiative to seeing what the needs of that trainee is. So if that trainee is just straightforward, 9-day training plan, perfect, good to go, great. most of them are not. So it comes down to taking initiative to identifying that, communicating that, and making sure there's a solution for that. And that's all on you guys as trainers, because you guys are really working with them, right? So lots of communication and, let's not,
If we are scheduling them an extra day on something, it's extra time on us. Like, it's okay to schedule it, but make sure that we're making that extra day as like, productively as we possibly can. Because we don't want to schedule like another day, another day, another day.
yeah. Okay,
Hold on 1 second. Amanda, what is the amount that it costs us to train one person? What was it, 2?
No, 5 is like 680. 680, and that's just a typical 9-day training plan.
Well, if we're adding more days, that day better be a big one.
So, yeah, so kind of what we're getting at and is we spend a lot of money training people, and so if we're not giving them the best training, then that's just money we pretty much throw away. So if we're adding training because we didn't train the correct way or not, it's not always on us, some people are just a little slower. But just know and we're fine spending money, but we just need to spend money wisely, okay? It's kind of like this training. This training is gonna cost each store a good chunk of change, but it's worth it. We wanna invest in you guys, we wanna invest in our employees. So we just need a better focus of training and think about, that's a lot of money I'm putting for me and this person to train. So just make sure we're doing great.
Okay, it's cut off on the bottom, but the very last step after you sign off the training binder. Anyone has about?
I know. Text out a message about how they did and what they can do better for next time so that everybody's all on the same page.
Communication. I swear I say this every single day, every single week. Communication is so important. Yeah, so just make sure you guys communicate. So yep, that text is the expectation. Got it? Sweet, so those are the steps. Not the norm, we kind of talked a little bit about some of these, what to do when training is atypical, so training not being up to speed, we need to add an extra day, we talked a little bit about that. Trainee or trainer calls in sick or trades shifts, what do we do?
Let scheduler know.
Yep, let the scheduler know, make sure you're not like just saying, okay, well, they'll just come in tomorrow, or okay, well, they'll just trade shifts. Trust me, trainees have traded shifts with normal employees. They're in the training process and they have traded shifts with normal employees. Within the last month that's happened, so. Yeah, no, that's not how it works. If you're scheduled for training, you don't get to trade shifts. You will make up your training day the following week or whatever. Cool? Training more than one at a time, hopefully that's not always the case. However, like I said, when we make big pushes for hiring, that's just how the schedule has to work out. Sometimes you guys do have 2 trainees. We're gonna try not to do that in the drive-thru as much as possible, but our frontline, having 2 trainees, shouldn't be any different, besides maybe you have to spend extra time with one of them over the other, depending on their skill set, I guess. Any issues with training 2 people at a time?
Sometimes I think that it actually benefits them because then they can help each other. And then they're like, oh, we both suck.
Yeah, no, they definitely feel more comfortable when there's another one of them doing the same thing, so they don't feel like the odd man out. I personally prefer it, but I know there's some things like around it sometimes. Setup doesn't allow for training in the correct area. So they're supposed to be training on iPad, but there's not enough people scheduled that night, so you have to train. So they have to spend another day in the dining room before they come. Or whatever that looks like, okay? That has happened a couple times. Hopefully we're not making that big of a mistake. Most of the time it's not the case. However, there are times that the setup is not gonna allow for it. If someone else calls in sick on shift, then we're not gonna have enough people. If 2 people call in sick and we don't have an on-call, then we're really not gonna have enough people to do training. So sometimes we're gonna have to text out and say, hey, we're gonna reschedule your training day because we just don't have people, right? It's better to give them a quality training than to just continue their training and you not be able to be with them because people called in sick or whatever. Okay, so again, back to communication. If Abby's closing one night and 3 people called in sick, so she calls her training off. She needs to make sure Kristen knows that they did not train that night, right? If Kaden was supposed to train someone that night and they didn't end up coming in, he needs to make sure he communicates that. This training did not come in, right? Back to communication. Okay, in the moment training. When does that happen?
Oh yeah, okay, when does this happen?
Depends on the type of training.
We were so shocked that night.
So hopefully it's not having to happen too often. Hopefully training is scheduled for, accounted for, and like I said, with communication, that is always going to be the case. We're always going to be prepared for training as long as there's always communication. In the moment training happens when we're on a shift and no one knows how to do headset except the manager on duty. You laugh, but
happens all the time.
It's a real thing. So how did we get to that point? How did we get there? How did we get? Yeah, I don't know. But that's when in the moment training is going to happen. Okay. Hopefully it's not happening 98% of the time, but there's going to be times where it happens, and we just have to go with it. The key to in the moment training is making sure we're still using the binder, because again, we want it to be correct training. We don't just want to throw you guys into it, and we don't just want to throw them into it and be like, okay, well, they don't know how to do headsets, so take them in the back and do headset. No, we're still gonna go through the training.
Does this count with training, like, closing stuff, like how to keep an ice cream and lemonade and?
So clothing training is in the works, because I know that's an issue right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've got a plan, a clothing training plan to put in the training binder as well, because I know that's an issue. So no,
Okay.
not yet,
Okay.
but also, hopefully, we're not giving terrible clothing training.
We also do have the building training as well.
Yeah, opening's a lot easier. Yeah, I will add that to the training binder. So before I leave on my maternity leave, there will be closing and opening in the training binder. Yeah.
What do you do in cases, so like talking about like people training in certain areas, what do you do in cases where they're purposely trying not to learn that area because they don't want to work in that? Because I've had that happen.
Like they don't.
Like they don't want to learn drive-through.
The trainer needs to have a conversation with the manager about what's going on, and the manager can have a conversation with them because it's part of their job. So if they don't like that part of their job, they probably find another job. That's cool. Continued training. So hopefully we're catching all the things they're missing as the training goes on, and we're like, oh, they need an extra day on register. Oh, they need an extra day on headset. Oh, whatever. And so that when they're done training, they're done training. It's not always the case. Sometimes they'll be done training, and then 6 weeks later, we're like, oh my gosh, they need more practice on register. That's when continued training comes into play. Communicate that to Kristen and Kylie so that they can schedule for it. Because, like I said, every training should be scheduled for. If not scheduled for, the schedule should be adjusted for. Okay, so it should always be on the schedule unless, like I said, that in the moment training when accidents happen. That's the only time. Otherwise, it should always be scheduled. So for 6 weeks down the road and Kate doesn't know how to do register, text Kristen and say, hey, we need to schedule him with the trainer again. Okay? And again, anytime a trainer is scheduled with a trainee, the binder is expected to be in your hand. Even if it's just a refresher on the front line. So if we bring someone in from a different Chick-fil-A and we're showing them around our Chick-fil-A, we're gonna have a binder in our hand. I don't care if they know how to take orders already, I don't care if they know how to use table markers already. We need to make sure that we're not missing absolutely anything. Okay? Cool. So any single time you're training, binder in your hand. Okay. Here's a. So I get complaints all the time that you guys can't trade with anyone but you guys. Okay. That's because you guys are shift leaders and team members are team members. So when Kristen and Kylie do the schedule, they specifically schedule shift leaders certain amounts on certain nights because you guys are capable of doing more than team members. We can rely on you more, whatever. If you guys want to be able to trade with team members, the team members better be as good as you, right? So that comes down to your guys' training them, right? So if you want to have more options for trading shifts, you need to train them to be as good as you guys, right? So no more complaints about no one can take my shift because I can only trade with shift leaders. Then train someone to be able to do your job, right? Okay. Any questions on training? Because I expect it to be perfect from this point forward. Never missing a step. Yeah.
Our shift lead is allowed to give our trainings workbooks, so we have to ask the manager if it's
Talk with the manager, but you guys.
So we can go online and say, hey, you can do this within a quick amount of time. Because whenever a couple shifts, I'd be like, there's a big stack of shakes, and I'd be like, you can finish that stack and half, that big old stack and half stack, I'll buy you a shaker.
Yeah.
If they get it done in like 10 minutes, and I've done that a few times, so.
Yep.
Just positive feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to get them to go faster, because some people are just fast, they can trace it, just sit back there 30, 40 minutes, just doing 2 giant stacks.
Okay, so no other questions? Sure?
So, to text out, do you just want us to do it in the training group chat? Yes.
Or shift leader is fine.
Adam?
He did it one day and I was like, wait, go out of here. Mona sent me a message, they do this all the time in the trainer when I was like, oh, well, that was that one.
And then he's like, wrong group, sorry, copy paste to the next group. Everyone didn't already see it.
You were like, great communication.
Yeah, because I do not the training one, so I was like, oh, way to go, Adam.
Okie dokie. So, training, awesome. This is all like I said, the expectation from today forward. Another expectation that I'm just gonna bring up that should already be the expectation, but we're gonna talk about it. Jolt. What's that?
What is Jolt?
It's what makes you run fast.
It makes us do stuff. Where's it at? What iPad?
Jolt.
Oh, there's just one iPad for Jolt?
There's 2.
There's actually 4 or 5.
There's like 2.
I'm like, if you count kitchens.
And when do we do that?
Every time we're doing
So what time?
so like pre-close, our closing checklist.
Oh, log into an answer.
When we do
Oh, thank you. Whenever we need to do any sort of list, like pre-close, stocking list, closing list, or anything like that, or if we're trading.
Is there an opening list on there too?
Yes, there is.
I just don't open.
Draper, you will get one. Lona's gonna work on that as well.
Yeah. Okay, so Braxton, that was a great answer. Braxton, go ahead and stand up for a sec. Braxton also is the #1 Jolt user at Southtown.
Wow.
Within the last 2 months.
Well, now you know. Thank you for using Jolt the way you're supposed to.
I have Drapers. So our #1 is Isaac with 2,774.
Within how long?
Within how long?
Yeah.
I don't know without him. Yeah, I don't know that. So the sad part is that like mine's the second highest with 921, and I've only been closing for 2 weeks.
Okay, so Jolt mostly not being used the way it should be.
Yeah.
So the difference between Southbound and Draper is Draper never had the expectation they had to use it. So we are now getting into that. So yeah, just so you guys know, so you guys are like, we awesome, gym set. No, that's not it.
Yeah, so Draper has never had, the expectation that it needs to be used every single night. So at Southtown, the reason it's the expectation is because I've said you will lose hours, you will lose your position, you will not be closing anymore. And this was not just at the shift leader level, this was at manager level as well. The expectation is that you do it, it's part of your job, you get paid the amount that you do. So use it, is basically, and it's tracked, I track it every single month. So from this month forward, I will be tracking Drapers as well. Just because if someone's not doing it, you won't be closing anymore, or opening or whatever.
I'm not in the system for Jolt yet, so.
I'll get you.
Oh, okay.
Kylie will get you in the system.
Okay, thanks.
Me?
Crystal needs to be added to Jolt.
Oh, hi, Crystal.
Okay.
I didn't even know you were here.
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Hi.
Part of the job.
Right?
Yes.
So I use it, but every time I go to, every other day when I stock, like my points don't change. Is it because I leave it, I don't?
So you're supposed to see
You have to save it.
Oh.
You're still in the top 7.
I'm not good enough.
Top 10. Top 10.
Cause I do it and it keeps saying 65, I'm just the next day, 65, I'm just like, yeah, make sure it's.
Are you doing it?
I never.
So does everyone know how to use Jolt and
So,
Sweep
yeah,
and do all that?
so with that being the expectation, does everyone know how to use Jolt? Drapers is a
If
little
you
messed
don't,
up, I'm gonna ask us.
Don't ask me. Ask someone else why I don't know.
Okay, so what is the reason behind using Jolt?
It's to keep accountability. Sorry, Ashley. I know you hate this.
Okay, so consistency and accountability, those are the two biggest reasons. So, Natalie closes and Isaac closes, it's gonna be the same exact close because they're both using Jolt and neither of them are gonna miss anything on the list. If Braxton closes and Julia closes, it's gonna be the same exact close because they're never missing anything on the list. Right? Jessica, how often do closes look the same when you come in the morning?
Every day is different.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now we see the reason behind why we need Jolt, right? Okay.
Please use it.
Braxton.
Oh, sorry, I was also gonna say it's also liability, because like, if you didn't do the stocking list right, then you know who did the stocking list.
Yes, yeah, and that is, super easy because people like to blame each other.
Also, doesn't Troy get a lot of money for this kind of Jolt?
Yeah, we do pay a lot of money for Jolt to be activated. So that is why we're so strict about using it.
I'd probably say another thing, because as me closing, something I've noticed is if you guys aren't using Jolt, I'm going to be holding you accountable to that stuff anyways, because as the closing manager, I have a checklist I have to go through on there as well. And so I'll know who to hold accountable and what to do, because if not, then that's completely on whoever's closing. And so the closers need to also, like our 1030s, will now be holding you guys accountable for marking that stuff off, or, so you want to know who's being held accountable, another big thing.
So there are lots of times where Jolt has come in handy in going back and looking up things. So when, for managers, fridge temps are supposed to be, I can go back and look and see if it was closed, what the temperature is, whatever.
Yeah.
Same thing for frontline. If it's not swept under the roof tower, I can go back and look to see if there was a picture taken of it being swept under the drink tower. Hashtag sweep. Yeah. So, yeah, there's lots of reasons why we use Jolt, the cost, but ideally you guys will be using Jolt in order to cover your own butts that you did your job correctly, right? Yeah.
Jolt for everybody.
Correct. Jolt is for everybody. Shift leaders use it the most because you're closing and opening soon. Stocking list is pretty much the only thing that team members can report.
So, question, so like in the morning, like, well, this is happening like daily. So I don't know if the cleaning crew, the one has to sweep under the drink towers, but like yesterday, I found this box underneath of one of them. I took a picture, but I'm not gonna send it like to everyone, right? So should I just take a picture with Joel and be like, hey, make sure you guys do this before?
I can go
No.
back and look at Joel and tell you exactly who didn't take the picture the night before.
Oh, okay.
And tell you exactly who it was. Yeah, so taking a picture under the drink tower is part of Joel, to make sure we swept out under there, so.
Still text it out.
Yeah, like text it out, or you can just ask whoever the manager is, pull up Joel from the night before and see who it was. Okay, any other questions with Joel? I will get opening list set up and I will get Drake list to make sense.
Hey, Amber.
Yeah, I know.
We've never heard of Jimmy Dad
Yeah.
We've never done it, so.
I know.
Hey.
Saw her text the other night. I was like,
So, yeah, we're gonna
Amber,
get all
is
this
Joel
information
technically
across the
operations?
stores, they're gonna be the exact same list.
Is Joel technically fall under operations? Okay.
So, yeah. Opening will be on there.
No, it's fine.
Tell them it's gonna be on there.
I know. Yeah, so if things aren't on that Jolt checklist that you guys think need to be, shoot a text to Kylie. Is that like stuff that's always missing? Yeah, and then they can add it for you. If you want pictures, right? Oh yeah, so you can show that it's been done.
Picture how happy the crew is.
No, not stupid stuff like that.
The size of the lemonade machine, the lemonade machine goal.
We should do like a 1 out of 5 pounds.
Okay.
The happiest crew.
All test time.
Oh, really? Wait, real quick before, you have the training binder check off.
Check off. Check off, check off. Why do I feel like I just missed something? Oh, I was like.
But I will be able to tell that our most recent hires all have
I was gonna say, if not, like, y'all sent me a picture of it yesterday, so I can tell you who's on what.
who? Oh, that's Benny, right?
What?
Ema.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looks like there's Danny.
Is this an open vote test?
Oh,
I would tell him. Stop. Shut up. I don't know. Hold on, is it open notes and closed notes?
So, reason I told you to take notes, because, you know, if there's anything you don't know.
Oh, here, you need to take this too.
You should have
Yeah, thanks.
resources. No. No.